Alright, welcome chess players. This is an advanced video on an opening called the Sicilian Dragon Garnier variation. And my name is Joseph Garnier. You can guess what it's going to be. I'm going to play through the opening moves quickly. I'm not going to provide a lot of explanation for them because I'm expecting advanced players to be watching this and, god damn it, they should know the opening moves and why. Okay? Now, I am a chess teacher, so I am willing to explain them to you at another time and place when I come to your house and you pay me for lessons, which is something I do. No, YouTube, I'm not advertising. Don't get on me. Alright, these are the mainline moves of the dragon. The 9 bishop c5, bishop c4 variation, 9 castles queenside, perfectly reputable, perfectly good, nothing wrong with it. We're just showing off what I know about. Alright, castles. Rook c8, queen a5 is also an option. Hopefully you know that, but if you don't, well, it is. Okay, so now we got a little tactical issue on the bishop. If you don't know about it, tough, I'm not explaining it. The bishop goes back to b3. And now, in the dragon, both sides are trying to tear each other apart. So black immediately starts doing something aggressive. He lifts his knight, preparing to reposition to c4. The rook file is open. You got a lot of chances to do some damage. Now white says, you know what, buddy boy? I'm not going to stand by here and let you smack me around. I'm going to play h4, and I'm going to try to open the h file and go after you. So, at this point, black looks at this and goes, ha, you're not threatening anything. I will jump my knight into c4. I'll attack your queen. I'll attack your bishop, and I'll say, what now? And the bishop takes the knight, and the rook takes the bishop. No surprises here. In this position, white has many good moves. All of them revolve around the same plan, though, which is to destroy black and mess him up big time. The most common move, though, is h5, which is a sacrifice of the h-pawn, and that's done to make the attack come faster and open up the h-file, as you can see. So, knight takes pawn. Black says, hey, that's a free pawn. Why not take it? If we get to an endgame, we'll win. g4 kicks the knight out of the way, and now knight back to f6. And now there are many different moves here that white can play. Knight to b3, knight to e2, bishop to h6, king to b1, all are reasonable. But the one I want to focus on is knight to e2, because this is where my Garnier variation comes in. Now, for those of you with your computers looking over this, you may find an error in my Garnier variation. I'm sure Fritz 11 or your Ribka or your Hierarchs, you can find something to beat me, because I'm only 1900 about it. Now, that said, I challenge you, unless you're some super grandmaster, to find the refutation over the board in our 3-minute blitz game, our 5-minute blitz game, or our 2 or 1-minute bullet game. Okay, knight to e2 is, first thing you notice is it does defend c3 a little better, but the main point of this move will become evident in a second. Now, the move I remember seeing in the books is rook to e8, and this is done to keep the bishop from getting traded off, because you have this option, and now you won't take it, because you're not skewered or whatever you want to call it. So, and on a side note, the word skewer, I think they just need to change that to screwed, because when you get skewered in chess, you're screwed. Anyway, the move I play here is queen to a5. And it's a very typical dragon move. It's very aggressive. You see the queen influencing a2 and influencing c3 a little bit. At this point, there's more than one good move here, as I've said, for white. King b1 may very well be the best. But in blitz games, most commonly, white is like, hey, I'm going to mess you up. I'm playing here. So now black needs to have some stones. Because if he doesn't have some stones, then he's going to die. And if you don't know what stones are, then you shouldn't be playing this. You need to start playing like the Karo Khan or something really quiet where you can try to get into an endgame and get a passed pawn or something. Alright, so rook comes to c8, and you don't have to even know how to play chess to see that something is going on this c-file. This is called black wanting to mess white up big time. Alright, so white goes along with his plan. Pop takes, queen check. If you play the dragon, you've been in this position a few thousand times. King goes back down, and now, the knight's the only thing guarding h7. If white can make it move, he'll win, so he plays g5. He's like, hey, move the knight. And if black's a complete idiot and goes back to e8, it's going to be checkmate. But, luckily for black, there's something he can do. And that's move the knight to the h-file. And this interferes with the rook's attack on h7. There's a problem here. Okay, now we see why this knight has come to e2. It has 2 squares it can go to try to kill black, and those are f4 and g3. Now let's just put him on f4. When you're in a blitz game, you like to move your pieces closer. It's more aggressive, it's cooler looking. But it does the same darn thing. The point of this move is to go here and eliminate the most important defender of Black's king, so you can then smack him upside the head, checkmate him, and go home with all the money from the tournament you just won. So, knight to f4. Now for my little Garnier variation. Now I don't want to take all the credit for this because it's a thematic sacrifice. It's not like I just made it up. But rook takes c3, all right? Because Black looks at this. He looks at it objectively, says, it doesn't look like White's threatening to checkmate me right now. Let's pick up our baseball bat and smack him in the head. Rook takes c3. And, well, ideally, we'd like that to happen. The rook crashing into the king. Takes c3. Now, check this out. All right, so people see this. They're like, oh, what do I do? Well, if they take here, they get to have fun. Queen takes c3. Okay, so now Black has to... Black has a very nice mate threat here, as you can see. Okay, mate threat. How do we defend it? So move the king. We'll take anyway. Goodbye, you're going to die. If he plays rook here, queen a1 is mate. If here, we can very humorously come to c3 and just take the knight. Then we'll have a bishop and a knight for a rook. That's an advantage in and of itself. The knight will hold the king side together. We'll have a big attack. White will be essentially freaking dead. So we can ascertain from that taking the rook is really not advisable because you will die. So White needs to play something aggressive because if White decides to start, being stupid and just trying to find defensive moves, he's going to die. So White's really only reasonable option is knight takes h5, which does come with a pretty hefty threat. Can anybody say g7 support mate? Yeah, there's a problem here. Luckily for Black, though, he has a relatively simple defense. First of all, hey, what the hell's guarding this? We take that son of a gun, and we put the king in check. And the king has to go to b1. If you think the king can go to d2, you don't know how to play chess, get out of here. King b1. All right. Now Black has to figure out what to do. And the answer to that, in my humble opinion, is to play rook takes b2. Now, if you got your chess computers out, you may find a move that's better than that. And to you, I say, great job, tell me about it. Comment on my YouTube page, I can learn and get better. Then I can slap you in the head with my new move that I learned on my YouTube page. So, rook takes b2, king takes b2, queen to c3, check. And what's cool about this queen is she does a very lovely job of defending the g7 square and busting the king in the head. Now, get this. You have an insurance policy here, a get out of jail free card. If, for some reason, you've lost your testicular fortitude, you have a draw. Queen c2, king a1, queen c3, king b1, there's your draw. If you can't see it, calculate, man. Okay, but now, somebody just pushed him back. Now we just we take this, okay? So now the only move that's decent is queen takes. Okay, if rook takes, hopefully you guys know what a fork is. You just check him here. He goes here, and you take his rook, and you say, you're a dead man, you stupid idiot, because your rook comes down, and you just bust him upside the head. He probably ends up getting mated on a3 or something. So, queen takes, pawn. All right, what do we do now? We have how many pawns for that rook? White has 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6. We have 2 pawns and a bishop for a rook. That's 5 to 5. Personally, I like the 2 pawns and the bishop, though. It's like 3 units of force versus 1, which I think's cool. But I kind of like Black's position here because I like how he's got the checks and stuff. What we can do, number of different things. I like checking because I like to put people in check. But here comes the part where you need to think a bit. Queen down to g7. And now the king is pretty solidly defended, and you still have a initiative against the white king because he's still open. Okay, I'm immediately seeing this bishop springing into activity along this diagonal, or down here along this diagonal. Now, you haven't won this game as Black. You can't say, hey, I'm completely winning, because White does have some counterplay, like tripling along the h-file. But if you got some courage, and you want to try something new, try out the Garnier variation.